Hello and welcome everyone. We continue our journey on making the best testing library for scheme language. We already settled on architecture of the library and have all the basic entities defined and even implemented. And right now we will start implementing the missing functionality based on the architecture we already have. The very important functionality that we not yet implemented is the reporting, the summary of test run. On the last stream, we implemented the scheduling of test case execution and a separate function for executing all the scheduled test cases. And now we need simply gather the information of actual results provided by those test cases and save it to some place and probably print it to stdout for now, and later we will iterate and improve and will make it more accessible through programming interface so we can integrate it into IDE. I'm under Tropin. I work on operating systems and programming languages and do a lot of free and open source software along the way, including this wonderful library. Let's start with a very simple thing. Let's check that we have everything that we need committed before starting to work on the project. Otherwise, we can end up in a state where we have too much commits. And of course, it probably won't be the final version of the library after we implement the basic functionality that we need for next steps. I guess I will start test-driven refactoring. So I will be writing some tests, some sample use cases written in the form of test, and we'll be iterating and improving the design of the library. So first we will make sure that our library is dog-fooded, so we've written tests in the same library. And the second one, we will be sure that if we introduce some changes, we will see some failed tests in case they breaks compatibility or our expectations. Okay, let's commit the comment. It's minor, but we need to commit it anyway. Someday. Suitbl update comment. I also want to do a bit of refactoring, but I guess we can do it later. We can focus right now on actually implementing the test summaries. 1 second. Okay, we have a function run scheduled test cases, and we simply go through the all scheduled test cases and execute them, because our scheduled test case consists of the function to run and some information about this test case, probably the description and test path, like the hierarchy of test suites, and maybe something else. And to actually get some information from this test run, we can implement a separate function. So we don't need like to have too long body in this case clause. I guess this to do is completed. Collect all test cases in a list and add info about test path and possible other things. Yep, we actually did it. Now let's implement a function define run scheduled test cases, and here it will accept test cases. What it will do and what it will return, I guess it can return a summary, right? Moreover, the process will be iterative. We either can use a loop, a named let, where we update values on each iteration, or we can reduce, because reduce allows to have some accumulated value. The one benefit of named let here can be the fact that we can have a few variables and it will be easier to operate on them. For reduce, we will have only one accumulator value that we will need to destructure and structure back on every iteration, and for loop, I guess, will be a bit more handier here. However, like in Clojure language, there is a destructuring built into function arguments, so you can destructure both in function arguments or in let easily. And in Clojure, it's probably almost the same amount of effort using the iteration via some kind of special recursion or using reduce, but for scheme it will be named let, I guess, the more convenient option. Okay, what we have? We have test passed 0, total tests 0, and tests failed 0. Actually, the outcome of test case can be pass, fail, skip, error. First option, everything is all right in our assert, in all of the asserts of the test case, and we are good to go. The second option, one of the asserts returns the false value, so we get a fail. Another option, we marked somehow our test case for skipping. Actually, I didn't come up with a tool for skipping tests, and I don't know if we really need them. We maybe want to have it, but I'm not sure. We will see later about skip and other stuff when we will be writing tests for our library and we'll be refactoring it, and we will think about skip. Let's write it down. Special test case skip statement or something similar. Probably no, because we can skip tests on test runner ID side. Skip test cases. Just a quick thought on the topic. Okay. Skip error tests. Now, let's start. By the way, do we need to count the number of asserts in each test? Probably no, because asserts themselves, I mean, we can count, of course, the number of asserts for the sake of reporting, maybe, but the real goal is to count the number of test cases. It's more like important and interesting metrics. So let's postpone counting asserts. Let's focus on test cases. Remaining test cases. Cases. Remaining test cases. If, unless null at remaining test cases, we do the body. Let's do the following. If we have null remaining test cases, we return something like past tests passed. What else? Failed tests failed. Errored tests errored. Total otherwise we iterate a loop, pam. Let's say 0 0 0 1 plus tests total and rest of test cases, remaining test cases, like this. And also we can do something something like this. Boom. And now instead of for each, we can just call run scheduled test cases and provide a list of test cases. Now let's compound exception quasi quote. What's wrong with quasi quote? Okay. Oh, it already works. It already works. Very cool. I'm always surprised how it turns out. How easy to implement some functionality and make it working straight out of the box without too much debugging and stuff when you have a relatively good design. Of the rest of the system. Okay, now we need to do the following thing. We need to obtain the result of the test run. Okay, and having the result, we can decide on which values we put here and there. Let's pick a result. Let's use current port, test output port, Actually, it's probably a test runner output port, test output runner. Okay. Now test runner output port. Let's use it everywhere. Okay, good. And now we do parameterize like this, and change test runner output port to what we change it. Comment with output to string. right? How this function works. With output to string sunk calls the zero procedure sunk. Call with okay, call with output string lambda port, parameterize to port all tests, and let's do pk of all tests like this. Display cool. Okay, we have our test output. We have okay, good. Why I did so strange manipulation to get the same result? Probably because sometimes I don't really need the output of every step of my test runner. I want to see the output of like code inside test cases and work with it. So we will wrap it, we can wrap it into another call with output string, or we can just suppress the test runner output. The only thing that I would like to persist is actually the result, but I can print it to std out and just suppress the test run output. Okay, let's see, we have pk for result, runtime pk for result is true. Which is a bit strange. Let's comment this out. Runtime. Okay. Well, let's do this and this. Okay. Every value of every test case is true for some reason. Let's simplify our test case and let's smaller test case. Let's define sample run, and we will be rerunning this sample run. Like this. We need a test case. Define test suite. Simple one, which will contain is 1, 2, 3. Okay, and instead of all cases we will do simple one. Good. Now let's try to understand what is happening. Let's add explicit test case. I forgot to open the chat. I think the time I'm streaming, nobody actually is online. Test case exception is throw error, and test case failure is false. Now let's see at our functions for running asserts. Default run assert, schedule test cases, update atomic. I found a small flaw in our design. Not exactly flaw, but probably a missing piece. That our function for running assert, default run assert function, which does profiling. First of all, it just prints the profiling information to stdout, which not exactly what we want, because we want to have a more control over it, and we not always want to print immediately the profiling information, so it should be saved somewhere. And the question is where it should be saved. And the answer is in some state of our test runner. Oh, sorry for interrupting you, but there was a battle between spider and the bird. I guess bird flied away, maybe, not sure. Oh no, it was just afraid of the camera. Ha, I couldn't catch the moment. But the bird just flew and took the spider and flew away. My friend is gone. He was here for like 3 weeks or maybe even more. Probably I wasn't emotional enough to express the regret, but he was like a part of my working day. I was taking a look at him every time I looking at window. Oh, the huge leaf went out of the tree. Sorry for off topic and distraction, but things are happening around. Okay, let's make our assert to communicate with our test runner. We know that we are in a test case and we run assert inside a test case, that means that we can notify a test runner of a failed assert. So here the default report we just outputs to stdout will have one more line. It will be notified as runner blah blah blah, like this. But before that, let's commit our change to test runner output port. We want to commit this. The only problem here is that our function for running test cases is somewhat decoupled from the state of the test runner. You can see it doesn't depend on the state of test runner. Moreover, it will be a bit complicated to communicate the result of asserts to test runner and back to this function. There's like a possible solution. There is a possible solution. We can make another dynamic variable. Let's call it test case assert results, which will be make parameter, make atomic box, and it will contain empty list. Events, test case events. Oh, let's make it false by default. So we're making it false by default to make sure that it is established before running asserts, and it will fail if it's not. Okay, so remaining test cases, blah blah blah, result. Before the result, we need to define run assert. Run test case. Test case sunk, and here we will parameterize events, test case events, like this, and make atomic box like this, and we'll run test case song, and after that return test case events. This way our result, instead of having a value of the assert, will have a list of events happened. Okay, let's see. Run test case like this. We see now we have a list of events, and now we need to create those events. What we can do? I had a function for update atomic list value. Update atomic list value. Probably I don't need it. I just need to create a new event. So it should be just a simple cons. Let's see. We have test case events. Now what we do with it? We do atomic box update. Box is test case events. And it contains a procedure lambda value cons like this, and see if it works. Oh, we see fail, pass, and something unexpected. Cool. We almost here. We actually don't need this intermediate sync, and default errored. Sample run, fail, error. Very good. Let's check that for multiple asserts it works the same way. Very neat, very nice, very much like this stuff. The only thing that we don't do inside this function we don't handle exceptions which can happen in test case itself outside the asserts. To do handle exceptions that can happen inside test case but outside of assert. Ideally, I would like to write those to-do comments as our test cases and either comment them out or mark them as not implemented, so we can, write a few expected to fail test cases which defines new functionality not yet implemented, and we move them from one test suite to another when they get implemented, and this test suite is not executed by default, for example, something like this. But for now, let's keep them as comments. It's okay, it's fine. Okay, now we need to parse our results. The interesting question. I guess that we don't need error, because if there's error or failure, we mark it as a failed test. At least I guess so. That sounds reasonable. Okay, we have a result. Now failed any predicate ls member any lambda xx member x fail error, like this. Any let's see, failed. That's right. Lambda value condition value if condition Now inc if not failed, tests passed, and inc if failed. Yay! We reached the point where we have a test report. Now our test library is in a bit disassembled state, in a sense that some original expectations are violated. Probably, if I evaluate it directly, you can see now every test case and every assertion returns a test summary. However, I would expect asserts to return the value, and now this expectation is violated. But that's not a big deal, I guess. Let's try to fix it. Okay. Now our run scheduled test cases On one hand, I would expect assert to return the value, so we can reuse it somehow. On the other hand, returning test summary makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's, instead of simple one, let's try to run all tests. Oh, cool. Very nice. Very much enjoying that this thing works out of the box, due to the way we implemented test execution, that we first schedule test cases and after that run them, and we implemented the logic of triggering this run schedule test cases function. We now have an entry point in which we can do some additional stuff like generating test summary and returning it, and we don't need to implement anything on top to make it work. Very cool, very nice. Very much like it. So I guess we can just commit it. And enjoy this imperative result. Test case events. Okay. Test case events here. This one. This one. This one. Boom. Boom. generate test run summary. I guess by default we make it very private. Test case events is like a variable for internal use. We don't want to export it. However, the implementers of test runners maybe would like to access it. Oh no, because test case events is actually part of our default run assert. Okay, we'll make it private for now. We'll make it public later if necessary. Test case events. We already have 700 lines of code. I expected this library to be shorter, but we have some tests here, so we can say it's just 500 line of code and a bit of comments. And moreover, when we split it into a few modules, do we want to split it in a few modules? Not sure yet, but it should be like quite simple. The most tricky part here is a test runner, and it have the most of the code inside it. The rest is quite simple. I'm very enjoying the fact that even having already quite a lot of code, we easily can extend functionality of our test runner without redesigning all the things. Which means that our original design probably quite good. Not sure, but very likely. Okay, let's do a small summary of today's work. First of all, we made a separate function for running scheduled tests, and here we took a small loop which iterates over test cases that's scheduled for run, executes them, and depending on the result of execution, updates the value of the variables for summary, for test run summary. To make the results to collect the results of test case run, we introduced one more dynamic variable that we use to communicate the information from asserts to our test case runner. And we set this dynamic variable to atomic box that is updated by run assert function. And depending if it fail, pass or error, we add additional event that we can process later and understand if the test case failed or not. And also this information gives us understanding of summary of test case, so we can calculate the number of asserts inside the test case, which may be useful for reporting. And also that means in the same events we can save additional information, for example the execution time, and later we can add it to the final reporting somewhere. So it seems like a pretty flexible approach. Okay, that's pretty much it. Right now we collected the summary for a particular test case. Out of this summary we generate summary for the whole test suite we execute, and every execution of assert, test case or test suite now returns a test summary, and we understand the status of our test suite, how many tests are failing and how many tests are passing. Which means that we reached the goal of today's streams and made a test run summary. And we have this information and we can make other tooling using it. Okay, I hope it was useful for you and you enjoyed it. At least I'm enjoyed and pretty happy. So, see you in a bit. Bye.